Welcome to City Beat. It's always a pleasure here on City Beat to talk to Port Huron City Manager James Freed. James, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So, with everything that's happened over the last couple of weeks, let's get the elephant out of the room here right away. You interviewed in Ottawa County for an administrative position there. And obviously people may have seen the press conference that you did already, but you're not taking it. But talk about the process that happened with Ottawa.
Yeah, so a headhunter reached out to me. Ottawa County, it's Michigan's fastest growing county. It's right next to Kent County, which is Grand Rapids area. It lines the lake shore in West Michigan. They sent a headhunter after me to be their, they wanted me to interview to be their county administrator. I was made a final 4, and then I was named final 2. And the board reached out to me and said, hey, if we offer you this job, how serious you are about taking it. And that takes, for someone to really take stock of their life and what they have. And my wife and I, we went home, and as we were driving home the whole time, we just wanted to get home to Port Huron. And we quickly realized that you're already home. And so this is where we raise our kids. This is where we want to be. Yeah. I spent the last 10 years building a community that I wanted to raise my family in. Yeah. And the notion of taking my kids out of school and moving them across the state when we're already home. This is where we choose to be. It's a community of choice. And so in good faith, I just couldn't accept that type of job offer. $250,000 a year buys a lot. It doesn't buy what we have here, our friends, our family, our neighborhood. And so, this is where we want to be. This is my passion. This is where we love our community. And so people say, well, it's hard to walk away from $250,000 a year. And I can tell you, it's actually pretty easy when you have what we have and the blessings that we have here. So to the citizens of Port Huron, it's been an honor to serve as your city manager. And I'm on the retire fire plan, man. I want to stay here, continue my life's work, building this community up. And we have very important issues that we need to tackle.
So somebody watching this might say, well, why interview if you really did? But was it a process where, it would have to be perfect?
Well, the issue is this. I actually applied for the job before the election. And I had some folks who were running in the election who were very clear that if they got elected, they were going to probably fire the city manager. Yeah. Well, they were the lowest vote getters. And there was a mandate that that's not what's going to happen. And so when you have 2 little girls and you're married and you have a family to take care of, I have to take them at their word. If they get elected, they're going to come after me. And so, of course, I put a resume out there as an insurance policy. I think any human would do that. And so, never assumed I'd make so to essentially getting the job offered to me. Yeah. But this is this is a good time to review our life and what we want. And my wife and I are very clear. This is where we intend to raise our family because this is where we want to raise our family.
It's interesting, isn't it, in a leadership position, and personally, having been there too, it's a good feeling to be wanted. Yeah. But I will tell you, having known you for all of your time here, that you're wanted here too by a lot of people. Yes, there are some that ran for,
absolutely.
But you also have a lot of support and.
Well, we make difficult decisions in moments of consequence. I'm not out running a PR campaign to promote James Freed. I'm out making difficult but necessary decisions to move the community forward, whether that's unfunded liability, whether that's budget stability and making sure that we have enough funding to fund our police and fire. Difficult decisions have to be made. It takes leadership to make those decisions. We live in complex times with complex issues that aren't often simple solutions. And so I'm proud that during the difficult decision-making time, I call them decision points within my career where decisions had to be made that made significant consequence in the future of our city. If you look at what we've done, we've created budget stability, tax policy that's stable. We've created a pro-growth operation within City Hall. So City Hall isn't a roadblock to people who want to build businesses and move here or get a permit to build a house. We've really streamlined that to make sure the permitting process is speedy and cost efficient. But then we look at the amount of economic development we've done. We've created almost 3,000 new jobs, more than $500 million of investment, and now we have a housing crisis. We have all these people who, we used to chase jobs, now we chase workers. And so with the worker shortage, they can't move here if there's not affordable housing for them to live in. And so I think the most urgent issue we're going to have to tackle is affordable housing. And that's a complex issue because the government, this isn't Russia where we can just mandate the cost of everything. We have high building cost, land acquisition cost, making sure that we have high interest rates right now. So how as a community do we tackle those 3 massive hurdles to onboard more housing that people can afford. We're a blue-collar community. People cannot afford a $400,000 home. It's just unobtainable for so many. And so we need to be able to work together to knock that price down, whether that's working with developers on giving them land, whether that's working with the feds on subsidizing infrastructure. There needs to be strategic measures taken to ensure that we can really make housing obtainable, and that's what I'm focused on the next year.
Interesting, that city managers and you live in the city of Port Huron. So one of the things I've always appreciated about you is that when you think about things, you're thinking about a couple,
Yeah.
you and Jesse, with a young family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what are parks going to look like? What are the neighborhoods going to look like? What's the city going to look like for my family as well?
I've always tell my daughter, we drive around, so for instance, Pine Grove Park and Sanborn Park were getting rebuilt. And I tell her, I said, Daddy built that park for you. Daddy's building this park for you. And well, the problem is she goes to school and she'll tell people, my dad's building Pine Grove Park for me. And it's like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
Not quite.
Yeah, it's like, so when you tell a little girl, she takes literally that we built the plaza for her. But that's what we are doing. I mean, when I look at those, I remember when we did Lincoln Park and the Jim Atchison C playground there. When we saw that playground blueprints, all I thought was, oh, my kids are going to love this. We did Haynes Park, and now look at the amazing park going in at Harrison Point Park. That is a park that didn't exist until last year when we acquired the property, made it an official city park, and now we've invested over about $300,000 into a brand new play structure for that neighborhood. The kids of Harrison Point didn't have a playground, and if they wanted to go to a playground, there was dangerous, busy streets that they had to cross. I don't want my kids crossing Lapeer. I don't. It's dangerous. And so it's like the fact that those kids in Harrison Point now have a walkable park in their neighborhood, that's what I would want for my kids. That's what we want for your kids. And so when you begin, when you have kids, it changes the whole way you view the world and how you operate. And so we're no longer making decisions for today. We're making decisions for the next generation. Whether it's unfunded liabilities, public safety, this is about the next generation.
Yeah. You talked, I think the last time we spoke, about having a walkable park in the city, and that kind of accomplishes for the
Yes.
south side off of Lapeer. That was, I think, one of your goals.
Well, and the thing is Parks and Recreation, having inviting parks and those opportunities for kids and families, it's not just a recreation initiative, it's an economic development initiative. If you look at every single park that we have reinvented and reinvested in, look at the property values around those homes. The values have gone up and home ownership has gone up. People want to live near vibrant parks. So this isn't just like a charity case of building parks for people. There is a sound business case for this investment. And so it's not like we're just giving money towards parks. This is an investment. There is a return on investment. It's rising home values, creating more taxable base. So the business decision for creating quality spaces and quality places like parks has been vitally important. Look at the McMorran Plaza. That was $1.3 million, but if you talk to the business owners, that has brought in more than $1 million in new revenue to the businesses in downtown, to those small businesses. And so these keynote investments, they're strategic in nature, and they are planned to help create a return on investment.
But you haven't done this alone. The great thing, I think, about the workings since you arrived and became city manager have been there's partnerships.
Yeah.
Partnership with the county. There's partnership with surrounding townships. There's partnership with philanthropy.
Yeah.
I mean, all of this has been a result of everybody looking at a common
So
goal.
what's really nice about the team we've built at the city of Port Huron is I could die tomorrow and they would throw me a pretty decent funeral. Nobody would miss me. Operationally, nobody with me. We have assembled some of the most talented people to be department heads and division heads who are leading these operations and strategic planning. The stability that we have placed shows that we're a good partner. We're a good partner to partnership. And so philanthropy like the Wilson Foundation and the Community Foundation of St. Clair County and the Southeast Michigan Community Foundation, they all see a good a partner and have been partnering with us to make these projects happen. We've been able to really effectively deploy plans and implement plans better than most other cities in the region have. And I think they recognize that. So millions of dollars of outside money from philanthropy has poured in because of the measures we have taken to stabilize the community and the plan and the talented people we have to execute those plans.
You mentioned something that really kind of hit me of if you die tomorrow, but really the sign of a leader, I think, a good leader, is the people that they get on their bus, the people
Yes.
that they get to do the work in the trenches, right?
Yes, whenever I go to a department head meeting and I look around the table, I've had to replace all those departments. When I first got here in 2014, the council told me all your department heads are going to retire in the next 6 years. And that should be your goal, is to find talented, capable people to replace them. And I took that charge serious. I walk into a department head meeting in the executive suite, and I look around that table, and I am most proud of the talented, brilliant people that are sitting there. It's like, man, they wanted to come work for the city of Port Huron. They wanted to be a part of the work that we are doing. And it's a testament to just how Port Huron is the place of choice to live and to work.
So let's talk about some of the issues that have continued on since we last spoke, I think in September. We talked canal, and I wasn't even sure that you were sure when that was going to happen, but we've had some significand progress since
Yes,
then.
work is underway. The Tainer Gate has been removed, and now the new coffer dam's going in. The coffer dam is required so that we can stop the sand, essentially the wave action is pushing that further and further into the canal. We need to stop that, be able to de-water, to work on the superstructure and install a new gate. The coffer dam is designed in such a way where they can actually pull it out for spring floodwaters. So the issue is if we dam up the canal and we have spring floodwaters and it can't escape, the only places that happen is to flood the floodplain furthermore. And so to protect those homes and the properties along the canal district and along the river, those coffer dams can be removed to let floodwaters out. So we really thought ahead, like, hey, what's going to happen in April should a rain come in? We have let that package first, when we bid that package out. The work is already underway. We are now bidding out the fabrication of a new Tainer Gate, which they tell us will be 3 times stronger. The current Tainer Gate was never rated for this kind of load. It was made out of rivets because they didn't have welding technology back then. So that will be fabricated. The reason why we're getting that out the door in the next bid package as soon as possible is there's a long lead time on fabricating something that proprietary to that gate. And then in January, February, and March, we will bid out and they'll begin constructing the seawalls and the armoring of the banks. So the erosion is in such a way that we just can't put armoring down the banks, which is like essentially riprap and stone, because it's just too steep. So we're going to need to build seawalls up to create the slope ratio necessary to secure those banks that allows us to protect the canal mouth.
So it'll kind of look in the end like you're going through like a concrete barrier on each side.
Yes, when boaters go through there in May, it will physically look dramatically different from the Gratiot Bridge onward.
Yeah. So in essence, you're getting a dam that stops water and sand from coming in unless you want water to come in.
It will remove once repairs are made. We'll remove that coffer dam once repairs are made in the spring.
But it's interesting, though. I don't think people understand that canal has several purposes.
Yes.
You can let fresh water in from the lake into the river.
Yep.
You can allow, when the river's high,
floodwaters out.
Water's out. So it's several problems.
And also, it's never meant to be an official navigable boating, but everyone knows it's the place to boat through. I have personally been out on the lake. It was a beautiful sunny day. I was actually out with Gary Stolt, local realtor in town, and the sky just turned black, and the waves came up. And I tell you what, if it wasn't for a canal or safe harbor, I would not want to be out there in a small vessel. Yeah. Oftentimes, if you have 3-foot waves in Lake Huron, you got 9-foot swells in St. Clair River by the wastewater plant. And so a lot of people don't realize that small vessels oftentimes can't make it down the St. Clair River because it's too dangerous. And so provide them safe refuge and safe harbor in bad weather. And so it's a life safety issue as well.
Well, I've personally seen 2 boats sink underneath the Blue Water Bridge, 2 small, like 20-foot boats. So so I think what our local boaters would say is that is my safe haven to get out to enjoy the lake without going through the St. Clair River.
Absolutely. So it's a driver of economic development too. If you look around the Black River, we have the new Cannes Marina that opened up. It's beautiful. It's really cool. I mean, you're out there right on the waterfront. They're bringing in food trucks. Those type of venues we can support with the canal being open as well.
Yep. When we come back from the break, James, let's look at the next 10 years.
Appreciate
it. And see what your vision is for the next 10 years. We'll be back on City Beat as we continue in just a moment.
Lake Huron Medical Center. Our dedicated staff are committed to providing comprehensive care that meets your individual needs. We take time to listen to your concerns, understand your needs, and develop a customized treatment plan just for you. Trust in our expertise, experience our compassion, and let us be your partner in achieving optimal health. Visit us today and discover the Lake Huron difference.
Semco Energy Gas Company is dedicated to you with a focus on customer service and fuel today for a sustainable tomorrow. Semco Energy works hard to make your time with family and friends warm and cozy. Semco Energy Gas Company. Natural gas works for Michigan.
Welcome back to City Beat with James Freed, City Manager at Port Huron. Well, now we know you're staying for a while.
Yeah.
You've been 10 years here. Yep. Let's talk about the next 10 years? What does it look like short term and long term?
Yeah, so the first 10 years you're focused on budget stabilization, taking what was a financial emergency, resolving that, then investing in your assets. And so we're now at a point where we're looking at growth and prosperity. And I always tell folks, sometimes it's easier to lead during a crisis because the mission's defined. Now we have to talk about how do we build a community, and something we haven't talked about in 25, 30 years. How do we build and grow a community? And there's some growing challenges we're going to have. We talked about housing, onboarding additional housing, but to do that, we also need to look at our zoning and to review all of our zoning within the city. We have some lots that are unbuildable lots, where a house once used to be. Well, why is that? Because we arbitrarily decided that we wanted a lot to be this big and not necessarily this big, which is not in characteristics with some of these older neighborhoods. And so we should look at zoning, and to do that, we want to update our master plan. Our master plan should be updated about every 10 years. Legally, it needs to be reviewed every 5. So legally, every 5 years, the planning commission has to pull out the document, blow the dust off it, and say, is this still our master plan? And this just provides a guidepost. The master plans are oftentimes not worth the paper they're written on, but they do provide some decent guideposts. And so we received a $50,000 grant to help update the master plan, which is important because we bring in outside professionals and urban planners to really make this a living document. But our master plan is about 10 years old now. It needs to be updated. 2 critical components we needed. One was a housing study. So we conducted about a 6-month housing study to tell us what are the housing demands, what are the needs of the future housing market, and tell us about our demographics. Here's a really compelling statistic for you. 73% of homes in Port Huron do not have children under the age of 18 living in them. 73%. Now think about that dynamic shift from, say, the 70s and 60s, where almost everybody had kids in the house. And so we're often seeing that population decline isn't caused because people just don't like the city and they're leaving. It's because look at the obituaries and then look at the birth announcements, and they're out of whack. Our death rate is exceeding our birth rate. And so that changes the dynamics of what the needs are for your housing stock. And so that study is really compelling. The mayor and council are going to hold a special council meeting, maybe for January, but probably the first part of January, where this consultant's going to come in and brief them, including the planning commission, probably be a joint meeting of the planning commission and council, on the results of the housing study. That's critically important that we have that data, because that's really going to drive a huge part of the master plan. The next component is a land use study of what are the land use possibilities for the properties from the 7th Street Bridge until the 10th Street Bridge along the Black River, where the Central Fire Station currently stands, but that will be demolished in January. So when the Central Fire Station's tore down, there's a large swath of land, open land there, right along the Black River. What can be done there? What are options that the Planning Commission and the City Council should look at? So we have commissioned a land use study that will be completed as well, which will provide multiple options for what that could look like. Those 2 documents are going to be critical components of updating the master plan. And the master plan is going to have to address not only housing, but we need to talk about walkability and sustainable infrastructure. How do we build in a way in which is sustainable? We're not building roads that we can't afford and water and sewer lines to areas that it doesn't meet the demand. And so I really look about walkability. We talked about safe streets and safe parks. We talked about the need for a safe park in Harrison Point. Well, that's because Lapeer is a dangerous area. And so right now we're doing a multi-million-dollar rebuild of Lapeer from 15th to 24th starting next year. We need to factor in pedestrian walkability into that design, whether that be bike lanes, widening the sidewalks. If you look at the sidewalks there right now down Lapeer, you probably don't notice, but the grade are such that they're actually at an angle. That is not very equitable for those with disabilities and who are in wheelchairs. And so we really want to make all those sidewalks ADA compliant through this construction project, which takes a pretty significant feat of engineering to design those sidewalks in such a way, because you don't have a lot of land there to make those grades right. So that's in design right now. And so everything we're doing, we're focused on how do we take our assets we already have and make them better. I think 10th Avenue and 10th Street it's just a thoroughfare. It's too fast of traffic. If you had to cross there to get to a neighborhood or to a school, it's pretty dangerous. We need to look at traffic calming along the 10th corridor as well. I really want the master plan to look at that. And then we look at the Southside Neighborhood Improvement Authority, what they're doing in South Park and in the south side of the city. how can we come alongside them and buttress their economic development activities, their investments into the parks, and their desire to see new housing. What's really impressive is we have 2 housing projects going before MISHDA in December, which we should hear in February the results of those, receive state funding to make them affordable. One is a 40-unit development on the corner of Lincoln and Erie by McLaren. So if everyone remembers the McLaren construction project, that site where they staged all their equipment, that's a site for a possible mid-rise housing unit there. We also have a project to put in 14 townhomes between 27th and 26th Street in South Park. And those will be sell between $120,000 and $180,000, which would be really nice for those areas to have that kind of equitable housing there. I really think it'll be the first housing project in a long time in South Park, but there's a strong desire for folks to live there. You have the Advanced Manufacturing and Technology Park just to the north. You have some businesses that are starting to thrive there. The Industrial Park Liquor Store, completely rebuilt, brought in food and a wonderful food experience there. In fact, I was in there the other day at lunchtime, and there was a line out the door from people who were working in the technology park who were coming there for lunch. And they have a great lunch there now. And so it's right next to Knoxville. So you can take your kids, get some lunch. They have great chicken tenders and mac and cheese for the kids. And then take them to Knoxville, which has a brand new playground and a brand new investments there as well. So we really think it's a great place to build housing, to be within walkable distance of all those areas. It's one of the safest places in the city. And so we're really targeting where those housings are going because we want to create the complete package. Live, work, and play all in the same area.
Well, one of the constraints is you have city limits, right? Yeah. So, and limited space within those city limits to build new on a vacant piece of property. So it's really then looking at everything that you already have that's older and reimagining what it might look like.
Yeah, specifically with infill housing as well. So we have a lot of vacant property throughout the city and infill lots. We're not just going to build brand new neighborhoods, we're going to infill in the infrastructure we already have. And the reason why that's cost effective is when you don't have to build brand new streets and brand new water and sewer, the cost of construction is much cheaper because the infrastructure is already there. Yeah. And so there's a real opportunity to get ahead of the competition, which is the other communities in the area, to make way I call them Marysville refugees, you know. That's what Ray probably heard that. But for those folks, you know, you look at McNeil Creek neighborhood, those are folks who don't live in the city of Port Huron who are moving into the city. I think they have 8 homes under construction right now. 3 or 4 completed already, and they have going to max out, I think, 19 homes in the next year. But it's interesting to hear their stories. Where are you from? Well, I'm from I lived in Fort Gratiot, I lived in Marysville. I wanted to be closer to the downtown. I want to be closer to the schools, closer to the parks. And so we really have built that complete package where it's a choice community. But infill housing allows us to be economically competitive to onboard new housing stock and the infrastructure we already have that makes them affordable and attainable for those who want to come here and build their lives.
Doesn't it also, when you start working on a specific area of a city and you start seeing some renovation of some homes in an older area, doesn't that kind of spread to and one causes another one and so on?
Well, you're exactly right. And if you look at what's going on in Old Town, okay, in Old Town, rentals were on the rise. We call it destabilization of a neighborhood. In the last 5 years, the rental rates have risen and rental rates have dropped dramatically, and home ownership is on the rise. I have a stack of papers on my desk right now of about 50, 60 homes that used to be rentals that are now someone owns that home and is living in that. And that opportunity for a mom or dad to own a home, to build equity, and have a generational wealth change is critically important. I think the work our Pioneer Home Buyer Program is doing, so that's through our Community Development Office, we're offering down payment assistance up to $10,000 for those who qualify. And so giving folks that leg up, here's $10,000 to help buy a home. That helps affordability, it helps offset some of the interest rates. And we've done a significant amount of those, I think about 12 or 15 every year. Of folks buying homes and giving that down payment. A lot of people they're stuck in a rental because they just can't afford the down payment. They're living paycheck to paycheck, but they're making their bills, they're paying their bills, they're doing everything right. They just don't have enough to save up for a down payment. If we can help them with that down payment and get them into that home, and these are renovated homes too. So we go through and we renovate the homes with our CDBG funds. So they're getting a home that has a new furnace, new roof, all the big ticket items are taken care of. So there's nothing worse than having your roof leak. Right now, I have a leak in my roof, and it's all I've been thinking about the last 2 days is how bad is it? Am I need a new roof? Am I need to fix some drywall? And so to knock out those big ticket items for folks and give them that opportunity is huge. And this is about equitable prosperity, meaning we want to have opportunities in our community where everyone has a chance to get them, whether it's a job, whether it's getting job training skills, working with SC4 or RISA to provide job training skills. I went to East Buffalo, New York with the Community Foundation and to look at some jobs trainings programs out there. And we're like, we should really have this. Well, then I came back home, I'm like, we do have it. RISA does these, and of course you wouldn't know, but CNC technology. Teaching kids CNC technology and how to work the machines, and there's a lot of math involved. But they do the certain blocks of training, but then SC4 can pick up right off the bat to continue that training for those kids, and they go to a high-paying job right away. What's also really nice is that maybe you're an adult who's lost their job and needs to retool and retrain, and you didn't get the RISA training when you were in high school. SC4 offers remedial training in those training blocks to get you up to speed to go through their process as well. And so we are already doing innovative work. The issue is I don't think a lot of people know about it. And so we have to look at a systems approach to opportunity. How do we provide, working with SC4, working with RISA, working with Port Huron schools, how do we really create career pipelines that for the jobs that we already have, and we can place people immediately. A 4-year degree isn't really necessarily worth it for everyone right now. I mean, I would rather have someone who has, if you had to give me a kid who has a marketing degree or a CNC certificate, I would take the CNC certificate right now. I could place them in a job that pays well.
And they stay home.
And they do. And so I think we have the trades. What we really need to work on is the building trades. You know, when the budget cuts happen, we pulled the trades out of school. How to lay concrete, how to build. And if you actually go through town, there's some homes in town that the schools used to build. The high school used to build a home every year. And then they would often sell it to a teacher. How do we get back to teaching those skilled trades? Because there's huge value there. And I think for so long we propped up college education as everyone who wanted to be successful had to go to college. And now the Wall Street Journal just said the rise of the new millionaire class, and it was plumbers and HVAC specialists who are becoming millionaires faster than anyone else because the demand is such. And so really we need to highlight skilled trades, give it the honor and respect that it deserves because our community needs them, and let kids know that these are viable, good career paths. But then also let them know that already we have good programs here to train you and to give you a leg up on building your family in the future. I wish I would have known that. I graduated college saddled with college debt. I mean, I had like $85,000 in student loans. I didn't come from a rich family. I'm still paying off some of those student loans. But to give those kids a career without student debt, and we could do that as a community by working together. So really being good collaborators. I just had a meeting with Kurt Kramer and Pete Lacey at SC4 the other day. We had no agenda for the meeting, just to meet and to talk about ways we could collaborate. What are some things we could do together? And I think it's important to have those standing meetings with leaders across the county, just to meet, whether it's a township official, and say, have lunch, let's talk about things we can do better. And so I think that's why St. Clair County is doing so well, because we don't have leaders who are just driven by ego, right? And we don't live in silos. We really do, and we've created a culture where we expect people to work together. And if you don't want to work with people, that doesn't work out well here.
Yeah. So two big pieces of property. I was out on the water late in the summer, and you see the big former paper plant, Domtar, I think, on the river. You see the former huge piece of property there, a former paper plant on...
Done paper.
Yeah.
13.2 acres.
What
right in the
happens
water.
to those two?
So let's take them separately. So Domtar has new ownership, and they are investing in that facility to do intermodal transportation hub. Okay. So it'll be warehousing space, some office space, which helps create jobs and bring viability to that area. That means you're going to clean up the property, maintain the property. You worry about having dilapidated buildings. Yep. So Domtar, I think, is on a really good path. The new ownership is based out of Canada. They do really good work. They have a track record in Canada of buying properties like this and doing innovative things. And so that property could not have fallen into better hands, if I could be candidly honest. It's a relief that those folks know what they're doing, have that property, are going to do that. They're going to make the most, highest, and best use of it. Done paper, I'm worried about. Done paper, I'm not sure I believe in the investment firm's goals and objectives there, that the highest and best use. It's 13.2 acres right on the water. And so I want to make sure that we protect that neighborhood. I just happen to live there as well. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that they plan on demolishing most of it, which I hope starts right away, because that building needs to come down. There's a few homes they're going to take with it, some older homes that are up to the site, but that will create a nice clean canvas for that site for redevelopment. And so we want to make sure that we redevelop in a way that's beneficial to the community and not an adverse effect to the neighborhood. We have spoken with the new owners, and we told them what our expectations are, and they can comply with that expectations, or we can go about this the other way, in which we're willing to have. There are some things worth fighting for, and protecting neighborhoods, I believe, are worth fighting for.
That would be one.
That is worth. That's a fight I'm willing to take on and take it all the way to the legislature if need to.
Well, you could dream all year long about what could be there.
No, it's beautiful. I don't think you find a more iconic property in the entire Great Lakes region than the Dunn paper site.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful.
Absolutely. Well, James, It's been great to talk to you again. It's
been fabulous to be here.
Always good to catch up with you, and I'm glad you're staying. Not only from a city manager standpoint, but somebody who's become a friend through the years.
Appreciate it.
And it's always great to talk to you. And best of luck as we go to the next 10 years, James.
You know, people always ask me after 10 years of being a city manager, like, how do you do it? The criticisms, the slander online. And this is all part of the job in the 21st century. I talk to city managers and county administrators across the state. But what I will tell you is I have found nothing but love, caring, and tenderness from the people of Port Huron. This is a loving community. This is a community that embraces folks and really is a tender, caring community. Social media doesn't represent reality.
It does not.
Keyboard warriors don't represent the people I meet in the grocery store. And so I've never had to work a day in my life. I love what I do. I love the people that I serve. And when you can wake up every day and know that today I'm going to have consequence, meaning my work will help the people and the families and the children of Port Huron. That's such a rewarding feeling. And when you're rewarded at work, it's not a job. This is a mission, a passion of mine. And I'm so blessed to be in Port Huron with my wife and my 2 little girls. And I want to thank the citizens of Port Huron for continuing to give me the opportunity to serve them and to serve the mayor and council. We have a great mayor and council. I think Mayor Ashford's going to do a terrific job. I've already been meeting with her, and she's just a good collaborator. And she has a lot of knowledge. She's been doing this for like 30 years. She has a lot of knowledge of the city. So to work with Mayor Ashford, to work with the new council, look at Councilmember Barb Payton. What a dynamic person. Well, I mean, first of all, she's an amazing singer, an amazing, talented artist, but she's a neighborhood activist as well. She cares about her neighborhood. She cares about the parks. So to put her dynamic on the council with the already great city council members, it's like I'm excited about what we have, and we have a lot of resources. We can do a lot of good, and so the opportunity to continue to serve is a privilege that I never take for granted. You never want to take the office you hold for granted. It is an opportunity, but to whom much is given, much is expected. And I know that citizens of Port Huron have given me a great privilege and a great opportunity, and I intend to deliver results for them.
Can't find a better way to finish than that.
Thank you.
James. And that'll wrap up City Beat on Thumbcoast TV. Thank you for joining us.